Grand rising, grand rising, grand rising, you beautiful, beautiful soul. You know, when you look at the emphasis of take your time, a lot of times we are looking for a shortcut. We are looking for that instant gratification. We are looking to find a solution or an answer, sometimes in rapid speed. But in some situations, y'all, it takes time to find that answer. In some situations, it takes time to uncover the purpose of a situation. See, because in many instances, we have these invisible strings that bind us. And when you have these invisible strings, it's like having barbed wire wrapped around your body, but you can't see it. Where your moves are controlled, where your thought process is controlled, or it's attached to another soul, or attached to another entity, or attached to another location, or attached to a group. See, these invisible strings that bind us, oftentimes you're required to pause and take your time, because time, it works at its own speed. See, oftentimes the very things that we are in a rush to change, and we are in a rush to uncover the answer to, they're usually already worked out. And anytime you have these entities or these locations or these people that have these invisible attachments to us, sometimes you have to bind them. If you look at a cleanse, right? You're doing an internal cleanse and you are cleansing your body. In the process of that detox, one of the steps required is to consume either Damascus earth, you can consume charcoal, you can consume benadine clay. Because what it does is it binds and it expels those built up toxins. They stick to them. That can be comparable to a parasitic infection. That can be compared to any type of toxicity that is inside your body. It binds it and then it expels it, meaning that it forces it out of your body. Once it's bound up, the intestines is going to do what the intestines are going to do, and it's going to expel those particles, those attachments, and those invisible things that love to hide in dark places. See, we have these invisible strings and we have these invisible things that some may call it, a figment of your imagination. But a figment or a fragment of your imagination is simply a particle that's attached to your imagination, but it can't be seen by the naked eye. It can't be seen under a microscope. It could potentially be seen under the microscope, but it all depends upon the lens of the microscope that's identifying the fragment that's attached to the imagination. See, because we're constantly looking for instant gratification, because we are constantly looking for a quick fix to everything, it takes time to identify these attachments, y'all. Because remember, these mechanisms and these organisms and those fragments, those heavy metals, those bars and those barbed wires that bind us, that keep us bound, many times you can't see it with the naked eye, because the naked eye has a film on the top of it. The naked eye is controlled based upon what it sees. The naked eye can't see past the film that's covering it. The naked eye tends to struggle to even know what it's looking at because of the fragments that's on the inside of the eye. See, if we are not able to stop and bind and expel those toxins from our body, it'll make it very difficult for you to be able to focus on one specific task. Because how can you focus on a task if you're bound by these invisible strings? See, you can go to the spiritual aspect of things and say you can rebuke Satan and his kingdom. But a lot of times people may say that you're crazy. Some may say that you're deranged. They may say many different things because their naked eye will pass judgment upon you, because their naked eye is based upon their fragments. Their naked eyesight, their vision is based upon their attachments. Their naked eye is based upon their outlook, their individual perspective, and in many instances, their group perspective. Because remember, many of us are taught to think one way and to stay within that lane, to not exit that lane. But when we are driving, we are taught to look forward. We are taught to change lanes, especially if there's a lot of congestion or if there's a potential for danger ahead. You are required to change lanes and to find a new route or to seek safety. So the word for today, y'all, is take your time. Take your time so that you can identify. Take your time so that you can locate. Take your time so that you can bind and expel the very barbed wires that was designed to keep you chained and locked in a state of mind, locked in a state of existence without even understanding what it's like to truly live. See, because of the current reality, so it's the current, right? They say don't swim against the current, you have to go with the waves. We have moved into a space of, seeing things in hindsight, because that's the invisible thing. That's another one of the unspoken, where many people are currently speaking about, how we've moved into a place of control and how we've moved into a space where many people are asleep, and how we moved into the walking dead. But remember that everything moves in parables, and the Bible teaches us in parables these steps and these decisions, and everything goes based upon your individual perspective. So it's either you see it or you don't see it, and even if you see it, what do you choose to do with the things that you see? Are you willing to look on the inside of you? Because on the inside of you is what you have the ability to control what you currently see. So at that point, are you able to identify the fragments? Are you able to identify the chains? Are you able to identify the organisms? Are you able to identify the species? Because at that point, once you identify what you're dealing with, then you can begin to uncover the best plan of action so that you can bind and expel these attachments from your life. See, we aren't in a rush. And even though there's an emphasis on, I have this much amount of time to do this, or I'm too old to reach this goal in life, or, I missed that peak, or, time. Everything just has to be done in a certain amount of time. But if God can move as fast as 1 day or 1 minute or 1 hour, and sometimes God can take 100 days or 1,000,000 days. Sometimes we lose count of how long it takes for God to answer us, to show up for us, to communicate to us. But when you look at the reality that we aren't in a rush and we aren't in a race, and we are just taking things one step at a time, which is God's speed, at that point we will begin to learn to trust the process. But on that note, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up, and I'm going to continue this video and this talk with y'all in the next one. And I do hope that y'all have an amazing, 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 blessed and prosperous day. And on that note, I love y'all, and I'm going to catch up with you in the next one.